Hi Bio4 and welcome to part 2 of spinal nerves. First of all, we're going to keep looking at what the spinal cord looks like, and in cross-section, when you look at it in cross-section, you're going to see areas that are much darker than others. So as you analyze that, just imagine yourself staring at that, not knowing what's going on. We're going to call it gray matter and white matter, even though it doesn't exactly look gray or white. But the gray matter is the section that does not have myelin. Remember that myelin is fatty, and if myelin is fatty, it's going to look whiter than anything else there. It's more yellow than white. So those myelinated axons of those sensory and motor neurons that are traveling up to the brain and back down again, they're all myelinated. They're all coated in this sheath of fat, and that's going to look white. And anything that doesn't have these axons is going to look grayer. So where would that be? So in this very simple drawing of a cross-section of the spine, that's how it would look, right? This gray matter looks kind of like the shape of an H, and that H is going to be this whole region is going to be where there are lots and lots up here too of cell bodies. I should draw those like that. So cell bodies are here. They don't have myelin on them. So these cell bodies are going to be in this region here. And then white matter is all the rest that's left behind. And this is just going to be freeways of neurons, nerves. So if you have sort of, nerves like this that are traveling also in cross-section, they're coming up to the brain or coming down. So all this here is going to be the myelinated area, the whiter area. When you name the sections, you'd have to know which is anterior and posterior, but in this individual here, this would be dorsal. So we're going to call that dorsal horn. Let's make a D here for dorsal. And this is going to be ventral. So this sort of part of the H is going to be the ventral horn. Now, this little blip that comes out here on this H, that's going to be the lateral horn. Okay, and we'll look at a little bit later at Lou Gehrig's disease, and that has an affliction of the lateral horn. Okay, so moving on. This is more real. The picture's a little more real. It isn't really gray like that, but then we would have in the brain, not so much a cross-section of the cord, but in the brain also, do you notice the cortex is this outer rind? This outer rind here is going to be very gray, and that is going to have lots of cell bodies. And then white matter, again, myelinated neurons. Okay, so that's what it would look like. Gray matter, then I'm telling you, is made up of cell bodies of neurons, but that's not the only thing. Mostly. But there'll be lots of neuroglial cells. And remember, there's many more of these babysitter cells than there are actual neurons. So there's going to be lots of neuroglial cells. There's going to be any axon that's unmyelinated is not going to look white. It's going to look grayish. So that's fine. And then what about dendrites? Dendrites of some of these interneurons, the ones that connect in the cord and motor neurons, they also are non-myelinated, and they will look gray. Okay, what about white? The white matter is made up of what? Bundles of myelinated axons, mostly. But then also some can sneak in. So there might be some unmyelinated ones in that area also that you wouldn't be able to see individually. The neurons here can be motor, sensory, or interneuron. It doesn't matter. And they're divided into these columns that I already showed you. So the posterior, lateral, and anterior, or dorsal, lateral, and ventral. The most simple way to draw this is just like an H, like this, but we do have to remember that there's a lateral horn. It sort of pokes out like this. Okay. I'm going to cut this one short because what we want to look at next is the anatomy of the meninges, which are the wrappers of the brain and of the spinal cord. So I'll cut this here and we'll we'll go on in the next mini lecture to keep all the meninges in one lecture alone. Thanks for listening.